Rap singer Lisa Lopes is free on bond today after being charged in connection with a fire at the home of her boyfriend, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Andre Rison.
For why did TLC hold Arista hostage? The record company, Clive Davis, we held them hostage like guns, the whole shebang. Of course, Lisa was the ringleader.
Like, we need to go get our money. I need to know where my MF and money's at.
TLC never confirmed what happened to Lisa Lopes until now. Long before the headlines, there were cracks within the group that no one wanted to admit.
We've been through our fair share of turmoil and experiences.
Lisa was isolated, dismissed, and slowly pushed out of the vision she helped build.
And one day I just woke up and said, oh, I can't take this anymore. I can't take it anymore. I gotta find me. So that's what I had been searching for.
And just as the tension inside TLC reached its breaking point, Lisa allegedly found herself entangled with a young Sean Combs. Before the power, before the empire, before the fear, it was brief, it was messy, and then, not long after, she was gone. So, what happened? From the outside, TLC looked solid. A sisterhood. 3 women standing strong through the music industry. But behind the scenes, things were messy. Especially when it came to Lisa Left Eye Lopes. T-Buzz and Chili have never said much publicly, but years later, it's clear that not everything was right within the group. There were tensions, disagreements, and Lisa felt it more than anyone. She had ideas. Big ones. And she didn't want to just follow the group's path. She wanted to lead sometimes. But the others didn't always back her. Lisa felt stifled, like she was being boxed in just to keep the group's image clean and marketable. In one interview, she said, "I just woke up one day and said, I can't take this anymore. I got to find me." She was tired of holding back. Tired of pretending like everything was fine when it wasn't. The truth is, all 3 women were different. That's part of what made TLC special. But it also led to conflict. Left Eye was fiery, outspoken, creative. T-Buzz and Chili were calmer, more private, more in line with what the industry expected. Left Eye stood out, her style, her raps, her energy. But instead of being embraced for that, she felt like she was being pushed to tone it down. Even during the height of their success, cracks had already started to show. When they were working on their 1999 album Fan Mail, things got worse. That album gave them their biggest hit, No Scrubs, but Lisa didn't feel like she was part of it. I don't want no scrub. On some songs, her voice wasn't there at all. One example was Unpretty. That track didn't include her, and it hurt. She felt like her own group was moving forward without her. That's when she decided to speak out. She did an interview with a magazine where she said she didn't even support TLC the way she used to. Fans were shocked. The image of unity was breaking, and Lisa wasn't trying to hold it together anymore. She challenged T-Buzz and Chili to make solo albums, just like she was planning to do. She wanted to see who could really stand on their own. But they didn't take the challenge. They stayed focused on TLC. Lisa didn't wait around. In 2001, she dropped her solo album, Supernova. Her way of proving she had her own voice, her own vision, and didn't need permission to shine. During the 90s, before Diddy became the industry giant he is known as today, there were whispers that he and Lisa Left Eye Lopes had a brief romantic relationship. It's never been confirmed. No interviews, no public photos. But the rumor keeps popping up, usually from people who were close to the scene. It's the kind of story that sounds too specific to be made up. And like most things in the music industry, the truth was probably buried a long time ago. What people do agree on is that if Diddy and Lisa were together, it didn't last long, and it didn't end on good terms. Back then, Diddy wasn't at the peak of his power. He was still figuring out how to control his image and build his empire. Lisa, on the other hand, was already famous. Bold, opinionated, and the wild card in one of the biggest girl groups in the world. She had her own energy, her own mind, and didn't care to play by industry rules. That alone would have made her hard to handle. But Lisa wasn't just hard to handle. She was unpredictable in ways Diddy had likely never experienced before. In 1994, Lisa famously set her boyfriend Andre Rayson's mansion on fire. Not by accident. They had gotten into a fight. He had allegedly been violent. She came back home, set fire to his sneakers in the bathtub, and the whole house ended up burning to the ground. It made national headlines. She was charged with felony arson. And instead of denying it, Lisa owned it. She said it came from emotional pain and a breaking point. No PR filter. Compare that to what we're hearing about Diddy now, and the similarities are chilling. A few days ago, rapper Kid Cudi testified in court that Diddy was responsible for bombing his car.
Cudi, did he do it?
The jurors saw the actual cut, the hole in his Porsche, and then they saw the damage done from that Molotov cocktail where the red interior is ruined and darkened by the fire that started in his car.
Kid Cudi told the court that in 2011, he had briefly dated Cassie Ventura, the same woman Diddy was still involved with at the time. When Diddy found out, things escalated fast. Cudi testified that after Cassie called him in a panic, saying Diddy knew about them, he got a phone call from a mutual friend. Diddy had allegedly entered Cudi's Los Angeles home without permission. Cudi raced back home and called Diddy on the way, saying, "Are you in my house?" Diddy allegedly replied, "I'm over here waiting for you." When Cudi arrived, his Christmas gifts had been opened, his dog was locked in the bathroom, and his home security cameras had been tampered with. That was just the beginning. About a month later, in January 2012, Kid Cudi's Porsche was hit with a Molotov cocktail. A hole had been cut in the roof. An explosive was thrown inside. The car's interior was scorched. Prosecutors even showed the jury pictures. Burned leather, melted plastic. Cudi testified that he believed Diddy was behind the bombing. And although Diddy denied involvement in a later conversation, the incident has never been solved, and no one else was ever charged. Here's where the lines start to blur. Because Lisa burning down a mansion in 1994 was seen as wild, emotional, maybe even unhinged. But what do you call it when a man with power allegedly sends someone to bomb another artist's car in 2012? What do you call it when that same man is now on trial for racketeering, and criminal threats? Lisa was labeled dramatic. Diddy was labeled successful. But when you line the stories up, Lisa setting fire to her boyfriend's house after an abusive altercation, and Diddy allegedly retaliating against Cudi for dating someone he still claimed, the difference is in the coverage, not the behavior. That's why people have started re-examining what really happened between Diddy and Lisa. If they were ever in a relationship, how did it end? And if it ended badly, did it just fizzle out? Or did Lisa get too close to something Diddy didn't want her involved in? There's one story that still circulates. Allegedly, Lisa once showed up unannounced to a spot where Diddy was maybe a meeting, maybe an event. She wasn't there to party. She was there to talk. Fast, loud, asking names, asking questions. Diddy reportedly froze, didn't argue, didn't yell. He just left. People who witnessed it said she made him uncomfortable in a way they hadn't seen before. After that, it was over. No more phone calls, no more sightings, nothing. It was like she vanished from his orbit, and maybe that was the plan. Or maybe it was protection, because Lisa had a way of exposing people. She said things that artists weren't supposed to say. She asked questions executives weren't supposed to answer. And if Diddy sensed that she was the kind of woman who might air him out, maybe not immediately, but eventually, cutting ties quietly would have been the safest move. What's wild is that both of them shared the same emotional volatility, just expressed in different ways. Lisa's was fiery, impulsive, visible. Diddy's, if the allegations are true, was cold, calculated, and vengeful. One set fires in bathrooms. The other may have ordered explosions in driveways. Now, with Cuddy's testimony, the dots start to connect. If Diddy was really capable of orchestrating a car bombing and entering someone's house without permission, then walking away from Lisa before things got messy seems tame by comparison. But it also confirms something fans have been wondering for years, that Diddy and Lisa's relationship, however brief, wasn't just a fling. It was a warning. In any case, if Diddy and Lisa ever had a thing, it probably never lasted long, seeing how she once scared him while trying to get to Clive Davis, all for TLC. You see, by the time Crazy Sexy Cool went multi-platinum and pulled in $75 million, the members of TLC, T-Boz, Chili, and Left Eye, were driving beat-up cars, had barely any furniture, and were each handed $50,000.
TLC had generated on Crazy Sexy Cool $75 million, and they gave us $50,000 a piece. I was like, what the hell?
That's when everything changed. Left Eye, fresh out of the diversion center after setting her ex's house on fire, had met a new group of associates while locked up, women who didn't play. Ex-cons, big, intimidating, and down to ride. So when Lisa said, "Let's go get our money," the plan was set in motion. They didn't go through managers. They didn't file lawsuits. They drove straight to New York. Clive Davis, the man behind the label Arista, was at the top of the food chain. And Puffy, still going by that name at the time, just happened to be in the middle of a meeting with Clive when TLC showed up.
And Tion's cousin walks over, at the time it was a tape, stops the tape, gives it to Puffy and says, "TLC's got a meeting with Clive and you got to go. Your meeting's over."
TLC's crew spread through the building, snatching plaques, posters, anything with their name on it, and loaded it all into a waiting limo. Their limo driver was the getaway car. One of their girls acted as security outside Clive's office. Nobody got in. Nobody got out. They told Clive they were broke. They told him L.A. Reid was pointing fingers. And then the cops showed up. Clive had a decision to make: press charges and risk headlines, or handle it quietly.
Because the officer was like, is everything okay? Everything okay? And he was like, he looked at us, and that's when we gave him that look, and he was like, girls, why do we need all of the security? And come on, girls.
TLC left with no arrests. But soon after, the money came. Not all of it. It was recoupable, which meant they still didn't see most of it. But the renegotiations started. The label was rattled. And TLC made it clear they weren't just artists. They were fighters. And from that moment on, Diddy knew TLC wasn't the type of act you controlled. They were the kind you ran from. They didn't just scare Clive. They embarrassed Diddy. And years later, Chili gave us a clue that the tension between TLC and Diddy ran deeper than anyone realized.
Want to hear my joke I have? Ready? This is good. See if you like it. A lot of multiple nominees, multiple Grammy nominees this year. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10. Get it? Like he's going to jail? Right. All right.
It was just a joke. Rosie O'Donnell made a crack on live TV, and Chili burst out laughing. She laughed harder than anyone else in the room. And the look on her face, like she knew something the rest of us didn't. At the time, most people saw it as innocent, a celebrity moment gone viral. But once you start connecting the dots, who Chili used to date, where Usher came from, and how close he really was to Diddy, that laugh doesn't feel random anymore. Because Chili dated Usher for years, and Usher, at just 14 years old, had been sent to live with Diddy in New York by LaFace Records. He called it Puffy Flavor Camp.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
What exactly did he see?
hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
Meanwhile, behind the scenes, people were already talking. And when Chili and Usher got together, it wasn't just romance. It was proximity to one of the most powerful and allegedly dangerous men in music. And the question that's haunted fans ever since: what did Chili see or hear while dating Usher during his Diddy years? See, this wasn't just pillow talk. This was a woman dating a man who'd lived in Diddy's house, partied with Diddy's crew, and was hospitalized after a situation involving Diddy.
Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital.
There were rumors of an STD. There were stories that Kim Porter found tapes. There were claims that Diddy bragged about it all. And now, legal documents mention an unnamed artist with a Vegas residency and a Super Bowl performance. That matches Usher. And if Chili knew what was going on behind the scenes, if Usher told her everything, it explains why she suddenly backed off from both Diddy and Usher. She stopped speaking on him. She stayed away from Diddy's world, and she never looked back. Because what she may have learned wasn't just heartbreaking, it was dangerous. And in interviews since then, Chili never directly confirms what she saw. But she always makes one thing clear. Sometimes you're supposed to be with people for a reason, but not a lifetime. And if Usher was carrying trauma from what happened at Diddy's, Chili may have seen exactly what it did to him. Up close. The cheating, the emotional distance, the erratic behavior. And now, after everything that's come out, some people don't even blame him. They blame Diddy. Because if Diddy exploited Usher and Usher passed that pain forward, then Chili was a witness to all of it. And Diddy knew that. That's why her laugh at Rosie's joke hit different. Because maybe that wasn't just a punchline. Maybe it was payback. But Chili wasn't the only one Diddy and Clive had to worry about. If anyone in TLC truly scared them, it was Left Eye. Lisa Left Eye Lopes wasn't just the wild card. She was the ringleader. And when she found out the group had made $75 million while each member got paid just $50K, she snapped.
Of course, Lisa was the ringleader.
Like, we need to go get our money. I need to know where my MF money's at.
What happened next was borderline criminal. Lisa gathered a crew of ex-con women she met while locked up in a diversion center. Big women, loud women, women who looked like they'd done time and didn't care about going back. Then she called Chili and T-Boz and said, "We're driving to New York." They flew in, met in Manhattan, and walked straight into Arista Records with a plan: get their money, or shut it down. They kicked Diddy out of his own meeting. They stormed every floor of the building, ripping down anything with TLC on it. Awards, plaques, promo posters. One of the girls stood guard outside Clive Davis's office, refusing to let executives in or out. They even had a getaway limo waiting out front. Clive let it go and told his team to start renegotiating. But the fear, that lingered. Because Lisa wasn't just about contracts and money. She wanted answers. She wanted to know who had their money and what was really going on behind the scenes. Shortly after, she made one of the boldest career moves of her life, signing with Death Row. Nobody could believe it. TLC's most outspoken member had just joined the most dangerous label in music. And right when it looked like Lisa was about to expose everything, from the money trail to industry secrets, the unexpected happened. You see, after TLC showed up at Clive Davis's office and shut it down, the label got real quiet. Nobody expected it to go that far, not even the security team, but it did. From that day on, even artists had to go through extra checks just to enter Arista's building. Metal detectors, sign-ins, pat-downs. all because 3 girls from Atlanta walked in and made it clear they weren't playing about their money.
And after that, if you wanted to go to ERSA, even if you were an artist, you had to sign in and they had to pat you down and all that kind of stuff because of TLC.
And let's be honest, Clive Davis didn't do anything. He sat there, let the girls talk, watched his plaques get pulled off the walls, then acted like nothing happened. Because deep down, he knew they were right. After that standoff with Clive Davis, TLC moved on. But not all of them stayed in the spotlight. Left Eye was different. She never let things slide. And when the group started seeing more money, Lisa still wasn't satisfied. She wanted to know how it all got that bad in the first place, how they went multi-platinum and ended up broke. She wanted her own label, her own direction, and most of all, her own answers. She wasn't walking away from music, but she was clearly searching for something bigger than awards or sales. That's when she decided to leave the US and spend time in Honduras. She called it a spiritual retreat.
It's gonna be Left Eye the cameraman. I'm getting my skills on as a professional photographer. I never shut the camera off. The camera followed me into my dream.
She brought a small film crew and said she wanted to document her journey, not as a celebrity, but as a person trying to understand herself. During those final weeks, Lisa was reflective but unsettled. She talked a lot about energy, about spirits, and about something she couldn't quite explain. She felt like she was being watched. She believed something was following her. Just a few days before the crash, there was a strange and tragic moment. Lisa's vehicle accidentally struck a young boy walking on the side of the road. He didn't survive. His last name was also Lopes. Lisa was visibly shaken, and she told the camera that she believed the spirit meant to take her, not the boy. She wasn't joking. After that incident, her mood shifted even more. The footage shows her quieter, more tense. She kept going with the trip, but something clearly weighed on her. Then came the crash. The van she was in swerved off the road, flipped, and Lisa was killed on impact. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Everyone else in the vehicle survived. The official report listed it as a tragic accident. The road was narrow. The driver was avoiding another car. But for the people who had been following Lisa's story, especially those who knew what she was working on, the timing didn't sit right. Lisa was planning a new solo album. She had business plans outside of TLC, and she was in the middle of openly speaking about how badly the group had been treated by the industry, especially by LaFace and Arista. She was also one of the only members bold enough to confront Clive Davis directly. In her last interviews and taped footage, Lisa sounded more independent than ever. She wasn't just focused on music. She wanted ownership, real answers, and accountability for how much money had been taken from them. Her death, caught partially on camera, closed the chapter before she could fully tell her side. It's been more than 2 decades, and fans still wonder if Lisa knew too much, or was getting too close to something people didn't want public. Officially, there was no foul play, no charges were ever filed, but the questions around her death haven't gone away. Lisa's legacy isn't just tied to TLC's success, it's tied to how fearless she was in calling out what wasn't right. From their contracts to their payouts, to the silence from the people at the top. She wasn't the easiest person to control, and by the end of her life, she wasn't answering to the industry anymore. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.